Welcome to the Lost Beat 6 podcast. I'm your guest host here, Thierry Grose. With us, as always, we got Punish Steve. Also,
Pleasure to be here, Terry.
also in the studio. We'll call it a studio. Undisclosed location.
Sure.
Yeah. We got Eric.
What's up?
And the one and only Drfun.
Hi.
How are you boys doing this evening?
We're doing very well. It's very nice to be here. And we're really happy that we can share our hardcore labor with you.
Truly, an immense project. We're talking, of course, about the number one release across the country.
It's phenomenal.
Worldwide sensation. Appropriate.
Totally. Yeah, no. It's a behemoth. It's an albatross. It's
I was gonna say a behemoth and an albatross were the two things. Those were my number 1 and 2 notes.
It was my cross to bear.
Yeah. And we are, of course, talking about Beefin Round The World, the third official album? Second
official, because I know would we consider anything else in the past like an EP? I mean, Margalo's kind of some stuff, but we had Meet the Beefers, of course. The 50-year anniversary of Sgt. Pepper's, a spiritual successor, I'd say. But yeah, this will be the second full album, and it's a fucking double album. It's what do you say, 100 minutes of music?
I would say, yeah, at least it's at least a good movie length, feature film length at the minimum. You get the minimum 90. Definitely not 80. Like the B movie 80, it's definitely a 90.
It's a hard 90.
It's a hard 90 at least, plus a little bit, and plus some extra adventures in there. But yeah, it's definitely no longer than an unnecessary Transformers movie, but definitely about, let's say, Godfather length.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it is the godfather of albums, I would say.
I would agree.
You guys want to just talk a little bit about your background here? I mean, I'm sure our listeners are undoubtedly incredibly familiar with your wonderful works, but let's give a little bit of background. I mean, you had Meet the Beefers, which came out as you were saying on the, what was it, the
50-year anniversary of Sgt. Pepper's, yeah, June 1st, 2017.
So how do you think like the project has really evolved since that seminal work?
Damn. I'd say, for one thing, we got a little tighter, and we weren't quite winging it as much with this album. And, I don't regret winging it like we did on the first one. It was fucking super fun to make. But we definitely took our time and really developed these tracks, I think, a lot more. And a lot of the songs were songs that we had been wanting to do properly for almost a decade. So it was good to get like a lot of this shit finally recorded, and I think did a really good job this time.
Yeah, just for some context, we were in a high school band together.
Oh yeah,
and that was
the Definitives,
frighteningly long time ago now. And some of these tracks are things that we were playing back then a little bit, or at least working on. There were concepts there.
Reaper
like,
and the Bison,
those
made it on a Definitives release. I think. No, we didn't actually.
Was Reaper
properly
a Definitives track?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, at the very end, yeah. That was like June.
That may have been after my involvement with the project.
Yeah, I think.
So you were unceremoniously fired at the time, I believe.
You resigned in disgrace.
Yeah, I believe.
Unkind things were said. No, it was fine.
I may have been in most of that. That may have been most of my fault. So I want to go on the record here and tell you, Terry, that I'm absolutely devastated and sorry that actually had to happen. I'm glad we worked things out.
Well, Steve, know that I will never forgive you, and that is something I will take to my grave.
That's just within your right, and
But I do appreciate you apologizing. It does show that you're a class act. Given one that I will see dead.
Yeah, but to echo Eric's point that Reaper and Bison were in early development stages, and at least we got those on. It was on record, but it was sort of like a George Lucas situation where we couldn't get the vision. We didn't have the technology for the vision to be right. So now that it was too quiet, and it was an element of a lot of things were happening, mostly that we didn't know what we were doing. And now that we have a shred of knowledge of what we're doing, we still have a ways to go. But I think we managed to get the vision on the metadata.
Plus, Ryan did a very good job on the solo there, so thanks again for that, Ryan.
Drfun is the real MVP on this record. Just want to go out and say that too.
I do have to say your influence was very much noted, and I think a very strong point of the album.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate my talents finally being recognized. I mean, I've been being told I'm a genius from a very young age, and yeah, my mom, definitely did that. My girlfriend says you're okay, but yeah, I know how to do music. I went to school a couple times, like a couple. I don't know. I would go to college for music, and I would, I was just hanging out, and I saw that I could learn some stuff, and I just applied it here as necessary.
What a wonderful story. So, do we want to just start jumping into things here? I mean, I don't think we could go track by track because, again, this is, I'm seeing 22 tracks, which is substantial. Now, several of these are not actually that many. Really, only one of them was what I would call like a proper, well, no, the body isn't really a skit. I mean, it's a song. It just has, well...
it's real footage.
Exactly. I mean, it's from a very important person, I would say. Maybe that is something we could talk about before we get into the album as a proper. For the last one, for Meet the Beefers, there was the undeniable presence of Macho Man Randy Savage on that album.
True.
And he made an actual appearance. That's not someone doing a silly imitation.
No,
That's him.
we were able to book
We
him.
got him.
Yeah,
It was
he's hard to find these days, but we tracked him down.
lured him in with Slim Jims. That's him, right?
I think so.
Although I guess he gets them for free. So I mean, it doesn't. Maybe he just loves them so much.
Yeah, no, he's a big fan.
Yeah.
We're trying to get an ex-professional wrestler on every single record. That's the goal, Trying to get some Hulkamania going on the next one, hopefully. But
That's the dream. But as going into what you were saying there, that you have Jesse the Body Ventura featured prominently on this album, and I mean he is I think a great figure in American politics as an utter crackpot, but like also a complete awesome guy and not a
He's my boy.
right wing asshole. Like it's good to have one who's a little bit more on the left side of things.
He's like, I'm not sure if he's like your idea of like a libertarian's classical liberalism concept to a degree, because he's like, he was a Bernie bro, but he was also a Trump guy until he wasn't. And I think essentially his whole he had a finger on the clitoral sphincter of the pulse, and massaging it deeply into the idea that America is a two-party system is just a sporting event. It's corporations, they make money and they try to do just trying to make more money. And
You lost me after the part where you said clitoris.
It happens to lots of guys.
Yeah, what can you say? But no, it sounds like, Steve, that Jesse, he had some problems with you. It seems like maybe that partnership didn't exactly go to the best places. It seems like he thought you were maybe a bit of a sketchy dude.
Well, I had a thing where I basically was. There came a point, and I think this is described also in the song "Punish Steve," the Ballad of Punish Steve.
There's 2 Punish Steve songs on this album, which that's new, right? The other one only had 2.
Well, did we have?
Well, I'm saying maybe there's many 4 Punish Steve songs on this album. Who knows?
There's at least 3.
There's
at least 3.
3 if you count the intro.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't counting the intro.
There's La Ballade, which is the
Yeah.
French chronicalization.
Right. Oh shit! And then there's that was a Boogaloo.
Ballad of Punish Steve, yeah.
It's not Punish Steve's Boogaloo. That's the Psychedelic Space Beef. Boogaloo.
No, I mean I'm
We're
in
getting ahead of
there.
ourselves here.
It's
That
a
is
key.
true.
It's a key component of that song for sure. And I want to make sure that everybody else knows this is a concept record to end all concept records. So there is a storyline and a chronicalization of adventures that we had, and will have, because part of this looking forward, and then from trying to.
Well, you were talking about
I'm sorry, we were talking about Punish Steve.
Yeah, we were talking about Punish Steve and just more broadly.
I'm talking about myself, the legend Punish Steve. The so it's a concept record. You're very familiar, because even you're in the story, Terry. If you don't, there's elements where you're in this situation with us. You go down and you help us record some. You help us with a scam in Nashville, and you hang out with us in Texas with Eric and myself, and so you are a contributor to the story. But I want to make sure that this is an idea that basically this thing we do, we call beefing it. The hangout of us, totally doing the good drugs.
Too many of them.
Yeah, not too many, just the right amount of dosage, and we're taking the beefing lifestyle, and the goal is to spread it to the world, and to spread it into space.
Ultimately, take the seed to the stars.
When we find out, essentially, spoiler alert, when it gets rejected by humans, we just say,
fuck it.
Peace out. We're out of here.
Maybe the Andromedans will appreciate beef.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So,
I think they would.
Yeah. So anyway, the Punish Steve character is kind of a sort of a protagonist, if you will. He's kind of a guy who goes into finds himself kind of entering this world with these crazy characters, and much like St. Paul, spreads the message out to the rest of the world. And that's his lot in life. Yeah, no, I think I Saul, because St. Paul also was Saul, big bastard, and does the right thing. So yeah, I would say that I'm pretty much St. Paul in the story here.
What? Jesus, just not there for you?
No, because I would say if anybody, Jesus would probably be
yeah,
our lead singer Jake would probably be the Jesus character. He's the spiritual center of the group.
I have tried to.
He's the core. He
did raise from the dead.
He's the core conscience of the storyline. So anyway, there's a bunch of. It starts off, and it's a lot of this has to do with me. Punish Steve finally tasting, sowing wild oats, and becoming, learning Epicurean pleasures and avoiding pain at all costs, and finding the ultimate hedonism in the world that he can. And it says that in the first act, Punish Steve is searching desperately for his self-esteem. Somebody help him, please. And it's a great tune because it's funky, it's danceable, it's likable, and it's a cry for help, and it's beautiful.
Well, let's hear a little bit of that track. That was the Ballad of Punish Steve off their new album, Beefin Round The World. So one of the key concepts of this concept album is that to my understanding anyway, each track is its own, it represents an actual specific locus on, well, not necessarily the globe, but in our solar system.
I mean, we developed an idea for a tour for a domestic leg and an international leg, and we kind of were able to tie in each song to a city or general area, both here and abroad. So we started to put together, intro to the Ballad of Punish Steve is, I believe that's in Camarillo, and then Ballad of Punish Steve, or no, both of those are in Camarillo, and then Beefin Round The World's in Ventura, because that's where I was living when I came up for the idea of the concept for the album. So then we kind of make our way across. We go up through California. We go to Portland, and then go down to Nashville and Texas. So yeah, it kind of tied in nicely. I mean, some of the tracks have more direct correlation than others, but I think everything fits for the locations. So I was happy how that turned out.
Nice. That's one. That's a track you guys have been working on for a while. I mean, that's one thing. This album has been going into progress for
the main riff for "Beefin Round The World" is actually something I came up with probably in 2008. It's the oldest thing that we've ever put out. It was when Jake got a shitty guitar and started taking some lessons. So I was hanging out at his house, in between playing Halo 3. I just started fiddling, making like a joke riff. Yeah. It was our like inside joke, kind of like bullshit riff, and then it finally made its way into an actual song 13 years later. So I'm really happy personally for that to be there.
Yeah, that's a classic story. I mean,
it turned out to be a really good song.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
it's a great track.
I was really happy how
the vocals
I was not, so I don't like it.
Not a fan.
One of the few songs that you're not on, I think.
Yeah, they're not very good.
All right, from there, we can't discuss the title track, "Beefin Round The World." You wanna get a little bit of that going, or do you want to give us a prelude into that track before we hear a sample?
I think Eric did a bloody well job of describing that. I think is basically on the origins of that track, and essentially this was recorded almost completely live. There's only maybe 2 or 3 overdubs in the whole thing, and it's really probably one of those magical moments where everything kind of clicked and glued, and the stars were out, and the nights were shining. And shout out to our boy Rob, and we used his studio, and he laid the bass on that, and it turned out to be one of my favorite tunes. So.
That was the title track, "Beefin Round The World."
Ryan did do backup vocals on that, so he's full of shit.
Oh, shit.
Called out.
The doctor.
Brutally.
That doctor is whack.
Oh, jeez.
It's always tough to have things like this happen on the show, but somehow we'll power through it, I think.
My career's over.
And rightfully so. But, we all have to live with mistakes we made, and that's just part of being an adult.
Yeah, this one sucks. Throw it out. Sorry. It's just...
So this one's garbage. Dump it.
Dump it.
I mean, that's a hell of a track. You guys got some guitars on there, definitely. Should we just talk about the instruments in general?
It's a really good track, man. It's just, we all put our heart and soul into it. We're all a part of it, and
it shows.
It just really came out just the way we wanted it to.
It really makes it.
Should we talk more about how cool Steve is?
Punish Steve.
I'm going to refrain from talking about myself for the sake of my own ego being...
What went down in Pahrump, Nevada, Steve? We want to know.
In inquiring minds, the media demands it, Steve.
Why were you hoarding wads of cash?
What were you doing in the desert, Steve?
I had various business investments with one Mr. Neil Thomas Breen, and he and I were working on a business investment to try to fund his next theatrical feature film, and I needed a bailout. So I had to work with some mafia ties, and that really I have to, because it's something I have to do. And
we've all been there.
Yeah. and I believe for the most part I just had to I was running out of this album is expensive. Took a lot of money to make. It's gonna be a lot of money to press, a lot of money to market, and I just need to keep my investments secured that we got this off without a hitch.
Well, I'm satisfied by that answer.
What does I need it mean?
It means to be thirsty.
I don't believe you.
We're really getting some deep shit here. I'm liking it.
Well, there's this guy named Drfun, and he basically said that he challenged me to get laid by the end of 2019, and it failed miserably. And essentially, I had to give up my. I had to resort to other means, and I regret nothing.
Bold choice. Well, Alf, that stunning revelation.
Well, now we know. Steve pulled his funds from his investments during a historic bull market. It must have been worth it. Was it worth it?
Well, I made it back in a month, so yeah, it was
Cashing out the
still a bull
401k.
market. It was still a bull market after I withdraw the funds, so it kind of made itself up.
I love it.
I wonder how much market manipulation this man got up to in the meantime. I mean,
Let's get Bogdanov on the line.
we need to
Hello.
we need to get some investigations on this.
Ibut. Don't beat. Isold. Pumpit.
Moving on, if that is even possible at this stage. Beef Mountain. I think that's a new track. I don't think I've ever heard all that one before.
Yeah, that's one of the songs that is entirely new, because a lot of the songs were like partially written or literally already written, but we're just re-recording. That one, I think it was right after Mormor died. Actually, we jammed on that. Yeah, so I was kind of, not inspired by her writing it, but just kind of like a weird, it's the only time that someone I knew in my family had died since I was 11, so it was just kind of feeling weird, and I don't know, it was like a interesting energy, and Steve was there, and we just started jamming on that shit, and it sounded really good, and ended up I think was it Waterbury that came up with that one middle part, the like the immigrant song, Rob Zombie bullshit. So yeah, he helped with that, and then we ended up with an old Margalo tune, "Deceived." I want to say is the name of the original name of Beef Lake. So we brought that in there. Yeah, I think that's the longest song on the record. Although Beefers in Space might technically be longer.
Never mind, that's actually correct. I was going to say Beefers in Space is longer, and that's because I'm looking at the track names. And
But yeah, no, I really liked how that one turned out. The Jake vocals in Beef Lake really bring the song together. Got some Beck inspiration there, and the concepts for the names of the parts of the songs come from Dharma Bums. Steve, if you want to kind of break that down.
break it down, Steve.
So, if you're not familiar with Jack Kerouac's The Dharma Bums, essentially it resembles the Matterhorn in Yosemite. I think in the Sierra Nevadas. There's a Matterhorn in the Swiss, but there's a Matterhorn also
No, the Matterhorn's in Anaheim.
in Anaheim. So there's 3 of them. 4 if you count Disney World. 5 if you count
I
Euro
don't
Disney.
count Disney World.
6 if you count
Fuck
Euro,
Disney World.
Disney Tokyo. I'm not sure if we're going to count the Paris. Thank you.
All the rest of them are fun. but Disney,
That's Euro Disney. I already covered that one.
Disney World,
Disney World.
I got a beef with.
So-
But all the other ones are.
So in the Matterhorn Mountain, it's basically Jack Kerouac and poet and Zen Buddhist aficionado Gary Snyder,
And there's a Yeti, right?
and there's a Yeti.
At the right before you go down the thing, or is that the other one?
No, you're right.
Okay.
You got it right. And
His eyes light up, right?
There's
it's a
also,
pretty fun ride.
It's a good ride, and I think if I'm not mistaken, there's also a cameo by Meatloaf, who's trying to catch
on the Matterhorn?
He's trying to catch the Yeti.
Shit, yeah, I kind of think.
And they made that into.
thought he was like a-
It was in the 50s, but they made it into a movie later called To Catch a Yeti.
Did they have to? Is that the like Song of the South? That one?
No, it's not.
Meaning that had to
I
get,
don't
like,
think it's
memory
Disney.
hold because it was incredibly racist.
No, it was. I don't think it was racist. It was like it was not nice to little people. Excuse me.
Oh, yes.
And I don't think it was Disney either. So I don't think Disney gave a shit. It was may have been. Well, it's different name, different license. You know, they're not mutants. They're special people.
It's
So
the Hammermorn.
our story parallels the first phase of the Dharma Bums, in which they climb the Matterhorn, or at least try to anyway. Only one really does it. And similar to our story, where we all try to climb it, and only everybody eventually gets swallowed up by the mountain and find themselves in a mysterious, enchanted forest and a lake with water nymphs and a strange man baptizing us into beefdom. And so that's essentially Beef Mountain, where if you take the phrase, it's climbing, ascending Beef Mountain is the first phase. Beef is Beefy Mountaintop is the second act. The third act is you cannot fall off Beef Mountain, and the fourth one is Beef Lake. That's the suite.
It's the four.
It's the
The four piece, the movements of the beef.
Correct. Of
The beef symphony.
it's a suite essentially.
Sweet. Okay. I was watching a bit of Amadeus last night. What was going to say?
Ooh, a challenge.
That was Beef Mountain. All right, let's jump forward a couple tracks here to, a personal favorite. I think probably, I was going to say the goofiest song on the album, but that's maybe not quite true. I'm talking about Sweet Summer Grass. It's a great track.
It's a fine tune.
It really, you guys nailed the sound on that one. And it's a banger about eating ass and getting paid in fried chicken. I don't know what to say else about it other than that I love that you guys made it.
Got to
put a
credit the
lot
good
of effort-
doctor and Jake here with our auto-tune pedal. We were just fucking around, and Jake just started riffing on that.
The ultimate riffer.
Yeah, he is.
He's the beefer riffer.
And Drfun here happened to notice just how fucking hilarious it was and recorded it, so we were able to work off that and eventually turned it into this song. And if you want to talk about the whole Nashville kind of concept that you were trying to go for.
Okay, so essentially what happened was, because there was the everything was taken because it was essentially this Nashville, and there's a sort of a meme in Nashville around songwriting for spring break tunes. We're talking
that's
Jason
the fucking hit of
Aldean and Luke Perry, Luke Bryant, and all these
Song of the summer.
These kind of sort of Ameriburger douchebags.
Yeah,
essentially
songs about drinking beers in your trucks with your girl.
Yeah, and they always refer to your ass, and it's hanging out at a was it Myrtle Beach? Myrtle Beach, the redneck Riviera, with like giant and it's just all about the booty. They call them sugar shakers, and I tried like hell to add a sugar shaker lyric in there, but we didn't really need to, and so what we ended up doing is, okay, we'll take this Nashville thing, and why don't we just blow it up to every single modern cliche of country spring break douchebag, like spring breaker hit. And basically, we're the whole point and the whole joke, if you want me to explain the joke, is that it's not that hard to write
want you to
Nashville
explain
country
the joke.
tunes. Nashville songwriting is easy as hell if you just know what you're trying to do, and if you know what you want. And hang on. So essentially, the idea is that we went to the whole idea of like going to the full production to get the most cheesy, like the most modern country sound we possibly could get. So essentially, it's probably the most obvious like satire on the record. forgive me for being too serious about that, but the essentially the whole, I mean, it's I don't know. We wrote it like we wrote the song in like 2 minutes. Eric and I put the song together like once Jake was riffing and the Drfun recorded the riff. Eric and I go like, yeah, we know what to do. It's just like and we just essentially took very famous, very reused chords and just recycled a country tune that's a banger.
And there's a couple of good features there. I like the gang vocals. The I'm trading blood of water. It's fucking great. I get it stuck in my head all the time. But there's correct me if I'm wrong, but are the friends of the project the Deltas featured on that song?
They were not featured, but we recorded at their place.
Oh, okay.
And at their it was one of the last things that we recorded there before it burned down in the Woolsey fire. So it was like, kind of special in that regard.
Gotcha.
And it was kind of funny.
That's less funny than I thought it was going to be for a song about eating ass.
They didn't know it was about eating ass. In fact, they were really, if I recall correctly, I don't think one of them was very happy that he was recording like extremely modern country music. I brought in a DW kit. I brought in like the most modern you could possibly get, the tight sounding, punchy kind of sort of transients overtone, instruments that was gonna kick you in the ass and punch you in the face and lick you in the balls. And ass.
Sounds like a nice Saturday. Truly one of the highlights of the album for me.
My baby down in Alabama. She had these Daisy Dukes and her body was slamming. I said, oh little mama, where you from? Because I think this cowboy could be the one. Yeah. Gotta get her up in my pickup truck. I just have to test my luck. The one track line, gotta get behind her. You know what I'm gonna do. Oh, little mama, let me lick that ass down on the bayou in the sweet summer grass. Oh, little mama, let me lick that ass down on the bayou in the sweet summer grass. Oh, little mama, let me lick that ass down on the bayou in the sweet summer grass. Oh, little mama, let me lick that ass down on the bayou in the sweet summer grass. Well, I met my baby in Kentucky. She said, I'll give some chicken if you fuck me. Little mama, better slow it down.
Okay. I go back and forth on this one. I honestly feel like the satirical value of it is somewhat lessened by the fact that it's actually a fucking banger. It's kind of a good track.
I want to shout out to the Denim Emperor for having a cameo on that one as well.
Oh, okay. Was he part of the gang vocals there?
He does that first pre-chorus.
Gotcha.
He is in the gang vocals, though.
Yeah, and the gang vocals too.
Yeah, that's it's a classic. Another one. So later on here, struck me kind of one that I don't know if I had heard before was Reaper. That sort of got a different tone to it. If I'm remembering correctly, that one's got kind of like a surf rock vibe to it, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that was the first attempt at writing in Mr. Lonely, back when we were still Ducky in the Pond, which I can't really talk about, but that I after jamming with all those guys, it was a lot different than, in the Definitives. I was, trying to do everything and write everything, and with the guys in Mr. Lonely, I was getting exposed to like a lot of different new music and everything. So that was like my first attempt at like branching off into like a different kind of, writing, less riff rock, pentatonic bullshit. And we ended up turning that into a song and recording that. And it was pretty good, but it never really, I think, had the right arrangement. So this time around, the doctor and I spent a good amount of time really fleshing out the sound and the arrangement. and I think it really shows in this one because it sounds a lot better. It sounds really nice, and I cheesed most of it because my hand isn't able to play a lot of those bar chords, so I just kind of threw capos for like every take. So it's not an authentic guitar performance, but it sounds nice.
We're really happy to have a group of frauds on this team in order to make this record a success.
That one specifically was extra fraud, though. I felt bad about it.
Yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is it wasn't very good until I started adding my touch to it. You know, I was really in there just playing all the keys, you know, singing the background vocals, coaching Jake through the leads on his vocals, and just like, helping Eric Fraud out on his part. Yeah, I mean, I really brought it together with like the rest of the album, you know. I mean, yeah, you can hear it because the songs I'm not on aren't very good, so.
Can't disagree with that.
You know, it's harsh but true.
It's not though.
No.
It's not. It's harsh. It's the facts. You know. It's.
Yeah.
Gonna go Ben Shapiro on us in this one.
It's just, you know, the facts don't care about my feelings, and they shouldn't, because my feelings are, you know, that of a slug.
I like the idea that facts have emotions and they don't care about you.
No one does. No one does. All right. Well, this is one that may force me to reevaluate if it's the goofy or what was the goofiest track on the album. And I don't think this one is necessarily the goofiest track, but let's talk some more about this record that's only redeemed by the presence of Drfun.
Steve was on the other side of the earth, sun's out, buns out, getting his hog snarfed. And we're sitting here working our asses off in a hot garage.
Tell us more about how Steve has exploited you. and just really, you know, taking advantage of a, you know.
I mean, shit, we've got that's a whole nother podcast. I'm writing a book about it right now.
I mean,
I plan on publishing that through my publishing company, Lost Beat 6 Printing, Lost Beat 6 Press. And
and who runs those printing presses, Steve? Are they in fact orphans? Because I've heard they're orphans.
Well, eventually, they're all. Who isn't an orphan? Who does become an orphan? Sometimes parents become orphans.
People who have living parents are not orphans.
Well, the body and the mind himself, you know, he told us about Steve's doings with the extraterrestrial beings, and he's definitely got access.
Are you using alien child labor?
No,
Like
I'm just
space?
using very good friends of mine and exploiting their talents to even help me with podcasts and interviews.
And some of your friends' talent are having small fingers that can more easily manipulate the fine settings of your machines.
For sure. For a lot of these people, I have better ideas and better concepts and uses for a lot of people that my friends are doing, and I want to make sure that, you know, like you're not using your body, I'll use it for you. So might as well, right?
Yeah. Let your flesh die.
You were asking what the silliest song was, though.
Oh, well, I was leading into "It's Your Town," which another great track. Let's hear a little bit of that.
Up 7th Avenue, well past 2 p.m. Filthy goblins coming down my way whispering, got weed, got crack, got green, got white, got green, got white, got weed, got crack. One of them starts gnawing on my friend and I'm like, why don't you get fucked? He takes a Jackson and crawls away.
So this has to be another great example of Jake just riffing and coming up with something pretty gold.
I wrote all those lyrics.
Seriously?
Seriously.
Damn. That surprises me.
Not like in that song, not in the other stuff. Like, but
well, right.
Yeah, but those were all that I came out of several different experiences I had in New York City. None of them would actually happen to me, but happened to people adjacent to me or people that happened to me in fantasies in my head. So,
fair enough. These things happened, or they didn't, but I thought about them.
And
I thought it would be cool if they did happen. So I wrote a song about it.
Precisely.
We're all playing make-believe here, man.
Precisely, Terry.
Cool.
The first one is the truest of them all. That was a story where we went to legendary sake bar Hagi. which has been immortalized in a Drfun song. And we basically, a friend of mine needed to score some marijuana, and was told that he would have to pay up the butt through the nose, high price because it was still illegal there, and essentially had to deal with these kind of shady looking like dispensary dealer types with like special licenses. And if you go down into if anybody in New York knows this, if you're walking down the street in the middle of like Midtown Manhattan or Lower Manhattan, just like in the middle of the night, 2:00 in the morning, you find yourself hearing people like almost like they're talking to themselves, like homeless people talk. They look like homeless people, and they're talking to themselves, going, "Got green, got white, got weed, got crack, got green, got white." So he found one of these dudes in Times Square and essentially tried to. He got ripped off by him. Essentially, he was for some reason he decided to show the money before he showed the product, and it bit him in the ass, and he just had to take a Jackson. You just had to like pay up and walk away. So that was real. The story about Pretty Girls at the Met was more about like as a peak of my sexual frustration and sort of hipster girls and stuff like that. So that those are sort of images I have of New York City and my experiences walking down up subways and down streets and kind of vibes. And I wanted to get that kind of walking beat. So Eric and I worked on a jam that kind of best resembled that kind of Talking Heads, no funny business kind of street walking thing. So that's the song.
I also want to say shout out to Kerry King. Your derpy ass solos on specifically No Sleep Till Brooklyn was the inspiration for the guitar solo on that track.
Truly some of just the shittiest guitar solos maybe ever put to like,
We only want the worst, Terry.
Oh, I'm not talking about on your album. I mean they're pretty bad too. But I mean, I was talking about the Beastie Boys there. Some of those solos that early stuff is just, I mean, it works for what the music is, but they're not like good to listen to.
The Fight for Your Right one's a little bit better, but the No Sleep Till Brooklyn one is truly retarded.
Yeah.
Which is really what I was channeling.
We've already touched on the body here, featuring Jesse Ventura, but let's skip forward a little bit. Just not a lot actually. You want to talk about Churrasco?
Totally.
So do it.
Oh.
Do it.
Well, Churrasco is another jam. There's a good chunk of these albums. There's a good chunk of these songs that were developed over jams that Eric and I would do, and then we happened to have the due diligence to make sure we remembered them somehow. And this was one that we kind of said, hey, this is right in the early phases, 2018 or so, 2017, that we were sort of had this sort of vibe of developing a worldness to it. This is kind of where this might have been like one of the songs that had the, maybe this is a Beefin Round The World. We do a world tour, we go stopping, and it's not exactly a samba, I think by the definition or purest nature of a samba. But it's essentially
I'm a purist about my samba.
Yeah.
Don't come at me with some of this fucking like cut rate samba.
But essentially, we did a sort of a Latin like it was sort of like a Santana like rip off, like, but a little more playful, a little more fun. And essentially, we said, oh, let's make this let's make it as if we were in Rio de Janeiro, like partying our asses off, getting into drunk debauchery. Drunken debauchery, sexcapades, while in Rio. So that's kind of what the vibe of the song was.
Well, and was that? I don't remember if it's actually on the track or if it's just something you showed me, but it's the classic Arnold Schwarzenegger talking about Brazilian women video.
Yes.
That is a wonderful highlight. I always like watching that video. I mean, like, that guy was the governor of our state.
Totally.
And honestly, did an okay job at it. It wasn't great, but he wasn't the worst guy we've ever had there.
Arnold Schwarzenegger was a terrible fucking governor. I don't care what anyone says. What a fucking guy, movie star, terminates the government. Fuck this guy. Hey, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Not a
Fuck
fan?
yourself. The pet donkey and his pet pony. What the fuck is that shit?
He has a
Calling him-
pet pony?
Yeah, he's got a pet pony named Whiskey.
Oh.
I don't know. I like his cigar smoking video though. Smoke the stogies.
Yeah, yeah.
And my wife likes to do with doggies. His dad is like doggies. So I can smoke it from my wife. Unlike you.
Got the Psychedelic Space Beef Band here in the house. All right. We're past the halfway point on the album now, and we may go back to talk about a couple other tracks later, but I was going to talk about Dat High Life, because that was a fun track. I don't think I had heard that was what I hadn't heard necessarily before, and
Jesus Christ.
that was a fun one.
I'll let you take this one.
Okay, so it was always a plan of mine to do a couple of like sort of pay tribute to a couple of more worldly genres, if you will. Sure. One would be the Latin Boogaloo, and the other
I had
which
to
is
look that one up because I had heard of the
It's not
electric boogaloo. I
Yeah.
had known that the boogaloo term is now like an actual there's fucking like Civil War dudes that
Yeah, no.
and then I looked up. I'm like, oh, boogaloo was an actual genre of music. I did not ever make that connection. I just thought it was a fun word.
It is a fun word, and it's why it's often used for the wrong reasons. But do you think the idea that the I know we're actually in this point we're actually talking about the boogaloo, but the concept I always knew from the beginning of this project I wanted to start
The next American Civil War, and that's why you made a song dedicated to the boogaloo voice.
and that's why I countered it with the Afro Beef. It was tentatively titled Afro Beef, but essentially it was an Afro beat. And some of our, if you know Terry, some of our songs are send ups and some of our songs are love letters, and this is one of those love letters where we wanted to do something kind of in the Afrobeat style with the horn arrangements and the bass grooves, and the rhythm grooves.
This is some
And-
kind of fucking Cyrano de Bergerac love letter. Me writing it for you.
Damn, shots fired.
You know, I was going to get to that point. But what ended up happening was I never got around to writing it.
I did.
And
So the
Dr.
doctor
Fun
came
did.
and saved my ass on that one. So we need to get that done because it's something we need to do. And so Dr. Fun and I got together and kind of worked a groove out, and then he wrote the horn arrangements for it, and then I remember at the time we couldn't make it too long because we had too many quote long tracks already. So we said, "Fuck it, let's make it like a 2-minute little like interlude."
Yeah.
More than anything. And I think that's one of the few regrets we have is making it that short. But anyway, that's all I really have to say about that, unless Dr. Fun, you want to mention anything about that.
Shout out Dima Faustov in the Ukraine, which actually not supposed to say the Ukraine. Shout out Dima Faustov in Ukraine for making us our one-man horn section happen and realizing my fucking shitty ass notation that I do in Logic.
So can you explore that a little bit more? Because that was actually going to be my question: is who did the horns on that? Because I fucking thought the horns on that were sick.
Well, Terry, I'm glad you brought that up because I'm tired. I'm tired of samples. I'm tired of, I got all the fucking Spitfire shit. I got all the fucking, what is it? Like, what are all the popular sample packs? Native Instruments, all that bullshit. And, that's great. I'm glad they make those and stuff. And shout out to Native Instruments and Spitfire. I'm sorry I was so hard on you a second ago. But I wanted some real instruments on this record. I wanted some real players and stuff.
Music by real musicians.
Exactly. Real music.
Like Oasis.
Real music by real musicians. Can't say that enough. We got to bring real music back. Can't have all this programmed, canned music. It's just not real music. It has to do it like our grandpapa did it. So basically what I did is I was like, well, what's the best? I don't know any fucking saxophone players. Let me, they can actually show up and play it. We tried to get a friend of ours to do it, but he didn't do it. He sucked. So we got
This is also the one day where I had to. We would bring him into the studio, and this is where my producer chops utterly failed because he would show up and the doctor was there and he'd have his horns ready to go, and then I would just say, "Here's the track." You listen to the track, And I'm like, okay, now play something over that. And that's how I decided to. That's how I produce.
Yeah, so just like Suckfest, it's Suckfest 2019, just terrible, So anyways, I was like, look, I'm going to bring in, get the Eastern European hitman on it, Dima Faustov himself, Fiverr.com. Just went on there, threw some bucks his way. He set his rate. I was there to meet it, to match it. Steve, are you okay? I was there to meet it, to match it. You know what? We had an exchange of goods and services, and there were some good goods and some excellent services. So
calling in the heavy hitters from the East.
Yeah, calling in some heavy hitters from the East. I mean, my family, I got a lot of Slavs in there, so I gotta give it up for the got some Slav pride on this record for sure. With nothing exemplifies the high life better than some like Ukrainian from the internet.
It was a quid pro quo from our Ukrainian friend.
Yeah, I remember driving my feet in Eddie Murphy's couch.
So yeah, that was our quid pro quo moment, and
You sucked his dick.
in Ukraine, and we offered some favors. we offered goods and services for his goods and services.
Going back to the topic of some songs being love letters and some songs being send-ups. Beefers in the Bathroom. I mean, very clearly, like, early ska,
it's
English
in the,
beat. But what was behind the creation of that wonderful track? I mean, a ska song.
Well, this is one of those where we had a city that had no song. And so, essentially, we needed to write a song for the city. And
what city was that?
London, England. And so we were trying to figure out what we wanted to do with it. I kind of wanted...
song famously that no songs have ever been written about.
Yeah, give or take, the Kinks. But yeah, for sure, the definitely we wanted to have, like... I think part of it was we wanted to have a little psychedelic tribute there, like psychedelic underground thing. But mainly, I think it was more fun to do a ska thing.
The beef chord progression.
Correct. We brought back the BEEF chord progression.
Used at the end of the Psychedelic Space Beef Jam.
Definitely. And so, yeah, that made the song easy to write. Lyrically, it took a while to kind of figure out, and then I kind of used a story that I'm not sure I can talk about. I know you know about it, Terry? Okay, sorry. Well, there's references to people. It's in a story...
Sure.
Hey, Terry, remember when we all partied on Vyvanse and you went and then and for some reason like and
yeah, I do.
Yeah, that's what the song's about. And I don't think Jake really wanted to sing it, so I had to sing it because I wrote the lyrics. Because I exploited their...
You did the crime.
Because
you had to do the time. You made a song at a friend's expense.
Who's the... how George W. Bush is the decider?
Sure.
I'm the exploiter.
Famous cool guy George W. Bush.
I mean, mission accomplished.
I mean, he did all these cool paintings. That definitely makes up for it, right? He did some like pretty shitty paintings, and then we can like that trades off for like the whole war thing.
So yeah, anyway, that's the story of Beefer in the Bathroom, and it was a romper. The lyrics came quickly. I wrote it in Greece. It was quickly after that it became like, okay, I think some of that was like building on. It's one of those stream of conscious lyrics where you start it one way and it ends another way, and I just keep the whole thing about living, part. How can we keep? What's the point? We always keep living, keep living paycheck to paycheck, man. The whole idea that we would go out and spend, our hard-earned checks on nothing but vodka and rent money, and like, what are we doing here? What's the concept? What's the deal? Where are we going? Where do we go from here? And then it kind of turned into that other story about,
from the next day to someday when there is no way to pay. Where can we go living paycheck to paycheck and the bathroom's all that is left?
let's jump into another track in the saga of Punish Steve. Les Ballades de Steve Le Pony. Was that a well, not a solo effort, but I mean, you didn't. But I mean, there was no one else from the core band was involved.
There was a conscious effort for the original trio of the band to not do anything on the record. Sans like me, like engineering some of it and mixing it.
Yeah, it was not really a plan. It was kind of weird. I was gonna do it just as a Dr. Fun song, and then they were like, "Yeah, it'd sound great on the record." And I was like, "Yeah, if you guys want it to be on the fucking record, then sure, it can be." And we recorded the song at Rob's, and because I had this whole thing, I wanted to do like a Punish Steve, like themed send up of like Serge Gainsbourg, and yeah, so I just decided, okay, well, you know, and they liked it and wanted it on the record, so here we are. That's it, and then yeah.
We also need we also need a Paris song for Paris, France.
Yeah, so I guess a couple fun facts about the song is, again, real strings. You know, this one we actually cost some money. We had to like sit down with some real in-person string players and a little bit remote recording with Jordan, and I recorded two of the players right just pre-pandemic on my own using this mic technique I learned from my friend Eli to make it sound more like an ensemble with just a couple of players, a large ensemble. And then as for my voice, that is my voice. As you can tell, I have a high little voice in real life, and even when I'm speaking at my lowest, I still have a pretty high voice. But yes, I was. My plankton voice. The Krabby Patty secret formula. The ballad to Steve. I'll play for you the ballad of Punish Steve if you give me the Krabby Patty secret formula. So anyway, Alex is gonna lose his fucking mind right now. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Eric distracted me by pointing at the screen of the Dodger game.
I was gonna say one of the funniest things was you had the guitar part in mind, and I didn't get the notes until the night before. I don't know if that was between you and Steve why the delay happened, but when I got there and I like saw you like show me the part, I'm like, why am I playing this part? You should just play the part. So that's the, I think, only song outside of Boogaloo and High Life that I'm not on. And The Body, yeah. But yeah, that's one of the few tracks that I'm not on the record. And I gotta say, you fucking sounded great on that song. So I think you should have just played it in the first place.
Well, I appreciate that. And also, I'm pretty sure it was Steve's fault. But yeah, but finish the voice story. I was really sick one time. This is pre-COVID and everything, so it was just like a cold. And I was on the phone with Steve, and it was Steve's idea. Like, you should record the vocals now because this is the most you're ever going to sound like Serge Gainsbourg is when your voice sounds like shit right now. And I was like, you know what, you're right. And I got someone on the internet who's preferred to stay anonymous, but has asked to be credited by her username. She helped with the translation, and here we are. We got ourselves a little Frenchy tune.
Steve Collet n'était qu'un gars typique de Camarillo. Ayant peu de chance côté carrière et côté sexuel, il s'est décidé de trouver une solution. Il commença à profiter du temps qu'il passait avec ses camarades les plus proches, autrement connu comme les sessions de bœuf. L'exploitation de l'alcoolisme et de la santé mentale de ses amis pour son propre plaisir. Il s'est voulu transformer.
All right. Going on from that wonderful track, let's skip ahead a couple tracks here. Let's talk about Lost in Beef. And I think you were saying earlier, Eric, that this is your maybe your potential favorite on
this
this
is a song that I think is probably my favorite song that we've ever made for me to listen to. Honestly, it combines so many things. One, there was kind of an idea, even back in high school, trying to work on the first Definitives album, and the original idea for an ending had like kind of a sweet style to it that me and Steve worked on later on and kind of scrapped it. And it had ideas for, there's even some Margalo stuff. There's a lot going on in that song that's really, over a decade old, that really came together. It combined so many different things, from Dr. Fun's lyrics, going back to Creamsicle, and, the callback to Dank and everything. Like, the way the song works, I was just really happy with how good everything sounded. And I don't know, it just makes me happy to listen to it every time, because it feels like 3 different songs that I all really like. So it's just a really nice experience to listen to.
I agree in that it's probably one of my favorite Psychedelic Space Beef Band songs, or just like anything like back to Definitives time songs that like at least that Eric has been a part of, and Steve and all them, the core group before I came. But yeah, it's definitely one of the favorite things that I've worked on. It took a lot of work. It took a lot of time. I had to do a lot of actual research for this song. I actually had to look into like parts of Japan. I was like, where's the part of Tokyo where they sell the anime? And it's like, okay, Akihabara is where they do that. Yeah, so I have that in there. I had some stuff that I already knew. I did some research. Like watching through some Neo Tokyo stuff, like the movie Neo Tokyo, which is like a triptych sort of story that's told in like 3 separate sort of storylines with the Neo Tokyo setting, and the classic Neo Tokyo story, Akira. Obviously, was an inspiration, and and then Anthony Bourdain sort of, he was an inspiration too. We had that whole like a couple references to his musings on Tokyo, and like the sort of feeling of being hit by it. And I just kind of created a little storyline with like a narrative for a character, sort of being lost in the beef that is Neo Tokyo. The streets each being a sort of striation of the fat of the marbled meat of that is Wagyu beef, olive-fed Wagyu beef. Beef Olympic winning Wagyu beef.
I also want to make a point that you mentioned Bourdain, and I know that was like a big influence on the record, considering we started the project shortly after he died. So it's sort of like kind of a culmination of a lot of these things. That and the passing of Aniki. And so a lot of these like major, you'll see in the liner notes, and you'll see just a giant list of people that were like heavily. It's like a who's who of beeferdom, and like if you ever want to know like what does it mean to be a beef? Are we beefing it now? What does it mean? What the fuck are you talking about? It's like, okay, these people knew it. Like just that's pretty much what it boils down to. Reductionist. If I want to say these are our boys. And they're mostly men, but like who killed themselves. But they're mostly our guys, unfortunately. Which kind of, I don't know what that says about us, but that's one of the big tributes. That's very true. Yeah. But anyway, that's what I have to say about that song and how it culminates in the storyline and everything.
And I think it's a good fitting location for the final spot on Earth, because Beefin' It really came together when me and Jake started to go pairing vodka and anime. So that's really the Crystalline Queefin' Blues is technically the origin of everything, but it really started to come together around 2013, 2014 when we started to. I became 21, so I was able to buy vodka from Vaughn's after my shift was over. And then we'd go at the time. But yeah, no, doing that, yeah, vodka and anime is that's what beefing is.
It's foundational.
That's the simple ingredients. The more complex stuff, that exists. But
yeah,
the starter point for beefing is vodka and anime.
It's like the mirepoix It's like the starter for your stews and stuff. You always have
Yeah,
celery and carrots. And onions.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are
Yeah.
that's the foundational
Yep.
flavor base that the rest is built upon.
Absolutely.
Another great track, truly. And then that one, yeah, there's parts of that I'm like, oh yeah, I remember hearing that song back in when we were jamming in fucking a garage band back in high school and stuff. It's a great track. That was Lost in You. Truly, I think one of the clear highlights of the album.
I think sounds the best of the entire album, like consistently. Like just everything about it I enjoy. Like it all sounds really good. Like there's not a single part of that where I'm like, could we have done this differently? Like this really is the track I have no regrets at all about. I'm really happy with it.
That makes me happy, consider as a engineer and a producer and as well, yeah.
Kind of a funny story about recording it was when I was doing the vocals. I was alone in Steve's room, and I was doing them, and I was doing the last part where I go Neo Tokyo, right? And I'm just like I wasn't really getting it. I was like, oh, let me try and do it over and over again. So I'm just like yelling Neo Tokyo at the top of my lungs, basically just pitched, right? Just pitched yelling, and I start to hear in my headphones. I hear this like little like noises, just little scratching around and scrounging around and stuff. I'm like, what the fuck is that? I hear wheels rolling. And I look out at Steve's window, and Steve's window's open, and his whole neighborhood's like out there. Little kids are playing on bicycles. People are taking their trash out. I was like, cool. I was screaming Neo Tokyo like out to Steve's entire neighborhood. And just great. Fucking public humiliation. Well, so there's a little spice of just public humiliation in that song that makes it just more, that much more real and that much more just more human.
Yeah, it's you don't notice it, but it's there. It's an important part of it, even if it's not in the top of your perception.
It's definitely the dry rub of the beef. It's been mostly cooked in. It's just it's a beforehand thing that you don't notice until afterwards. You appreciate it's there.
You notice if it wasn't there, not so much that you notice that it is there.
Exactly.
Finishing up, we've got the culmination of the journey around the world and off the world. Beefers in space. And there's only one place to go, and that's to fucking space.
Goddamn motherfucking right.
That is the longest song on the album, is it not?
Yes.
Yeah. Although, pretty good preamble. I do have to say, that's some good fake spaceman talk. Who all was on that one there? Was that...
That was originally a jam between me, Jake, and Waterbury. That happened.
Oh, I was talking about
randomly.
the spaceman dialogue at the very beginning.
That was Corey and Jake.
That's what I thought. Okay.
But yeah, the original track came about completely randomly, and it was something I was so excited about. It was honestly one of the best jams I've ever had that like led to a song, maybe the best.
Which one is the chicken and which one is the egg in the riff for this and Beefers in the Bathroom?
The Psychedelic Space Beef Jam ends with shit up motherfucker, and I came up with that riff because it spelled beef, and then we ended up bringing that back for Beefers in the Bathroom, and then I think this happened after that song was created, or was it before?
No, it was
Was Beefers in Space before Beefers in the Bathroom?
no Beefers in the Bathroom. It was first.
Okay, so yeah, for Beefers in Space, yeah, we brought back the idea of that riff, and then I was on drums, Eric was on guitar, and Jake was on keyboards, and we jammed on that riff. Oh yeah, I think that's what it was. Were working on Beefers in the Bathroom, and I was like, what if we just slowed it down? I was like, dun, 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 dun.
It works for the motif, like a recurring motif.
Oh yeah, it's the fucking beef chord progression. Like it's our signature chord progression.
Yeah, it's very Wagnerian, you know. It's
So I mean, yeah, we bringing that back, and then Eric's big metalhead, so this worked out perfectly, and Jake did a great job on the vocals and on the keyboard, and we still have the original demo, which I love, and
Will be available soon.
yeah, we'll have that out. I mean, the artificial GMO epilogue is still pretty good, but if you want the organic shit, you'll have to wait for that.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun recording this too. We did it in a studio, just a rehearsal studio, really. We did it live mostly. The bass rhythm track was live, and we did this at Andre's studio. Yeah, PA. Sorry, Steve was giving me a look. I don't know if he didn't remember that or.
And the second bridge was good. The way with that, that we came up with that. Like we literally wrote it on the spot and ended up working out really well.
Yeah, it came out great. We got some good solos, and it was pretty cool. There's a little nice thing you can notice in the production is that we actually had to fuck up with the mics and like the overheads. I don't think are there.
Yeah, that's right.
They're not even there for the first couple 3/4 of the song, and then at the end they were tired. So then they come in, the overheads turn on right at the end of the song when it gets all big, and it goes so it just really opens up at the end. It sounds really nice. Happy accident. I like that.
Do you mind doing that one on the mic, giving us that lyric that you love so much?
Oh yes, he says, you take your beefers and you put them in space. Witness evolution of the human race. Saucing out across the grouse, saucing off across the galaxy. Yeah, no, that one he goes saucing off across the galaxy, traveling at the speed of beef. Yeah.
He did a great
Oh,
job
that's
with
fucking
that.
classic. That's so good.
It's a magical. It's a cinemagical reality. To quote Wesley Snipes, and
You ever seen Demolition Man?
I've seen the reviews of it. Yeah,
This is just your
Taco
Wesley.
Bell won the
Yeah.
fast food war.
Yeah,
Yeah.
3 shells.
Baja Blast not winning Decision was a disgrace and probably Russian interference. I don't know how Pitch Black won.
I think that we need to recount the vote.
Fucking history's greatest
Stop the
monster,
steal.
Jay, once had a 12-pack of Pitch Black shortly after Decision. And I think at that point I knew that
Need
he
we-
really
need
was
we know more?
history's greatest
I mean,
monster.
I may have been a little bit harsh when I said that. I was not wrong.
No, not at all.
He
Pitch black,
maybe saying it
after
to his
decision?
face.
Dude, we're still in mourning here. This is a Baja Blast house, isn't
Don't you
it?
bring that shit in here, Jay. Shout out, friend of the pod, Jay.
Baja Blast.
Yeah. Or wait, what's the opposite of a shout out? Shout in, whisper in,
Name and shame.
name and shout. I think we don't. He wouldn't appreciate that. Not that that's my
The
primary
only person
concern.
I've
But.
ever seen drink Pitch Black.
What even
Have
flavor
you ever
is
seen
pitch?
anyone drink Pitch Black?
I mean,
Mountain
I saw
Dew
Jay
Pitch
drink it,
Yeah.
and it
But,
pissed
like-
me the fuck off. What flavor is it? Is it like a blackberry or something?
Some purple shit. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
It did not have a distinct flavor, unlike
It just
Baja
tasted like
Blast.
kind of vague purple. Okay.
Eric, have you ever? Is Baja Blast a good mixer?
Not particularly.
With vodka, not really. It's a bit too mild, which makes it great for a soda. But as a mixer, you want something kind of tangy or a little bit more citrusy. You know, orange juice, obviously. You know, anything with
I think
that
you could
works.
make. I think it could be a part of a cocktail, maybe with some rum in it.
Oh, you could certainly
You could
use
do,
it in something.
Yeah, I think
but-
you can maybe make. Maybe even something as simple as rum, like orange juice and maybe Baja Blast.
Yeah, but
You can maybe
it's
float
really
the orange
better
juice
just
on
as
it.
a standalone
Yeah.
flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah, combining with alcohol, you can do it. Maybe it'd be better with rum, but yeah, with vodka Baja Blast, like, yeah, you'll make it work if you need to, but I certainly wouldn't, recommend it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, you want something a little stronger to, combat the bite.
Yeah. But back to the album. I mean, we just
I don't know. Do we need to get back to the album? Can we just talk some more about
let's
sodas?
talk about soda.
Yeah, I like sodas.
But one thing I wanted to mention is we've talked about all the songs. We haven't talked about the album cover.
Oh, that is something that made me exceptionally happy when I saw it for the first time.
Gotta
Who
say,
who
man.
wants to lead off here? Please tell us about the
Ryan,
Well,
the wonderful.
Ryan
The
landed
good doctor.
the Dr. Fun landed that account, so he has to tell you about it.
I have this weird superpower where I can just like cold email people and they respond to me for some reason. I don't know why. I'm not particularly charismatic. I don't know how to sell people things. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I'm just because I'm like an ordinary guy. I'm like, hey, here's what I want. Like, here's my thing. So I just found his email on his website. Or did I guess his email? No, I'm sorry. That was Darren Korb. Never mind. This is a...
Wait, you just guessed? You just were like, yeah, that's probably this guy.
No, I found Mark M's email, and I was just like, hey...
No, but for Darren Korb, because I mean, that's kind of
I guessed
yeah.
I guessed Darren Korb's email, and he responded.
Nice.
Yeah.
There's a composer of a bunch of really good video game soundtracks.
Yes, Bastion, Transistor, Hades,
I mean, Hades,
Pyre.
Hades, was like one of the best games that came out last year. Got
It
all
was-
the fucking awards and stuff, and the music is incredible.
Well, hopefully we can have him on the pod later this summer. We're gonna have him on the show. So yeah, that's he said he wanted to do it, but he's currently very busy because he's an actual successful musician.
Yeah,
so,
it makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, one day we'll know what that's like. Probably not, but maybe. Anyway, with Mark M, he's a renowned artist, internet pioneer, memer general.
If there was an ingredient I forgot with the vodka and anime, Mark M would be the third ingredient.
Definitely integral part of the Beef Sessions. We're really glad to have him as a part of the creative process with this album. And yeah, I just reached out to him. I was like, hey man, you do album covers? And he was like, I can do an album cover. And we just, we gave him some parameters, some general parameters, and made some tweaks when we were ready to. And he delivered. He did great because it was kind of interesting because when I first talked to the guys, I was like, what are we doing for the cover? Because I had some ideas. Eric had like the original idea, and Steve had a sort of offshoot of that idea, a sort of fork of that idea. And I was like, all kind of involved the picture of the world and like Jake's mouth being like wide open. This picture that we have of him in Joshua Tree that I wasn't there for, but picture that
the picture that I based everything off of was Jake holding his mouth open to a Yui from K-On! In a maid outfit up to his mouth. So the original picture has an anime figurine in the mouth, but yeah, just wanted to say that.
That's important. That's an important point. And I'm glad you brought it up. But so we wanted to have like the world inside of Jake's mouth, and I was like, what do you guys see? Because I don't really see much. I just see a kind of ordinary map sort of thing. What do you guys see? And Eric was like, or Steve said, I see Roger Dean, which is incredibly detailed art, detailed sort of pastel, like, you think
photorealistic.
Think albums, not photorealistic. It's sort of like fantasy, like hyperrealism
Gotcha,
almost,
yeah. But very, very detailed,
elevated reality, sort of like very, paying attention, like, very precise, rock formations and sort of geological sort of, imagery. And then Eric was like, yeah, I thought like Mark M. Which Mark M is a great artist, but very cartoony, very simple.
Definitely the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah, I was like, we're literally on opposite ends of the spectrum right now. How are we going to make this work? So I actually reached out to both. I just reached out to Roger Dean and Mark M. And Mark M was the one who responded. So we ended up going with Mark. I'm glad that we had Mark. I was leaning toward Mark myself. Sorry, Steve.
He's more of the comedic influence of the work anyway. So he's closer to us, our hearts in general.
Yeah, he was I thought was more of a fit for the project. So, I was really glad we were able to get him, and he was totally great about making changes and working with us, and great. 10 out of 10 would do it again.
Shout out Romeo Jr., the Newgrounds.com version of his name.
Shout out Romeo Jr.
It's a
throwback.
real
That's
throwback.
what he used to be known as.
Well, that really does tell you something about how long his works have been part of our...
Straight up since like fucking 2004. I've been,
yeah.
I've almost been following Mark M. or Romeo Jr. for 18 years. It's 17 at this point.
Yeah. One of the longest continuous relationships you've had with a form of media, probably.
Yeah, literally, yeah.
Good point.
So yeah, that was exciting for us to be able to work with him. Someone whose art we've really appreciated for a long time, and has given us a lot of good times and laughs and sort of in jokes to have fun with. So yeah, it was really nice and kind of special to us, and a nice way to wrap up the production process of the album. That was one of the last things we did was the art, and getting him on board, and he was digging working on it, and he seemed to like some of the tunes too, and he wants us to send it to him when it's done. So
yeah.
So yeah,
that's awesome.
It was great. It was a great experience.
That's a truly great opportunity. I'm so happy that happened. When I heard about that, I was like completely blown away. And when I saw it, I'm like, oh, it's exactly perfect. It is, and it is so clear when you see it. It is very distinctively.
It's hard to miss.
Mark. Yeah. Well, we've gone track by track now through all of them. You guys have any? I think we've talked about lots of favorites. Lost in Beef being a particular group favorite. Do you all have an individual favorite that we weren't able to talk about, or just a song that you thought was special that we didn't talk too much about, or anything like that? I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. I got some too that I could go back to if you all need some ideas, but I'd be curious to hear what you guys have on that one.
You cannot restart this device.
Okay, that was actually one I was curious about, because I like that one as well.
That is another Mr. Lonely era. We actually performed it as Mr. Lonely at the Canyon Club. And that one is a track for a long time. What was it called? D major?
No, it was called... Oh, you're right.
Yeah. Fucking Steve.
Get your shit together.
That was another one that was written, around the same time as Reaper, and really, I thought this time around made it work, especially because of Drfun. I really like what you did with the vocals and tying that song together. It sounds like. What are your thoughts on that?
I really like this song in terms of when Eric was, especially when I first heard about it like a couple years ago, and I was like, this is a really great piece of music, and I don't feel like I did it justice. I really don't feel like I did a great job. I'm not really. I like the lyrics. I don't feel like I did the best vocal performance, and I don't know, man.
Cut the mic.
I'm proud.
We're supposed to stroke
Damage control, Steve.
Our whole
Damage
point is
control.
to stroke ourselves on this in this podcast about how awesome we are.
I'm happy with it. I've come to terms with it. It's sort of the whole point of the song for me. It's really personal, and it was just like, oh God, am I hitting over? I don't know. It's one of those songs. I think the thing here. Let's lay it down. Let's get this.
Put it all on the line.
This is Doc Talk. All right, this is real shit.
That's the podcast. It's your own podcast.
This is Doc Talk.
Lost Beat 6 Podcast Network.
This is right here on the third Doc from the Fun. We are we're hashing it out. So basically, how I feel is no, I think my reluctance with it comes from that it's such a personal song, and whenever you do something like that, it's always gonna kind of eat at you, and you're always gonna kind of cringe when you listen to it and be like, "Is this good? Like, did I do a good job?" Eric likes it, which is good.
I really like it.
I'm glad he does.
I liked that song for so long. We tried to have it on the last album, but like couldn't get it on there. So I'm really happy that this song finally came together.
I do, yeah. I do appreciate that I was able to be a part of that, and that you like it and stuff. And I think it's just one of those things where it's like it's so personal that you have to second guess yourself. And if I wasn't second guessing myself, I wasn't being totally honest. So that's probably an indicator that I was being honest and that I was being, because if you listen to the lyrics, it's pretty heavy. It's kind of like, oh, not having a great time, but it's ultimately I wanted to end it on a positive note, and it's about sort of acceptance of your and doing your best to make things work, or else you waste your fucking life.
Well, I do have to say it was a track that stood out to me on the first time listening through it. It was, I think, kind of it kind of changes. It's a little bit of a pace changer on the album.
Yeah, it's right
it
after
comes,
Beef Mountain.
Yeah.
So you get through this gigantic, enormous song, and then that kind of, has a lot of jammy elements, and then you get to this kind of, I don't want to say...
More structured.
Yeah, more structured and really, tightly, it works a lot better. I don't know what I'm saying. It just fits right after that.
Yeah, it's a very tonal, you've got a lot going on in the tracks beforehand, and then you get this kind of comber, it works very, very nicely where it's structured on the album.
I was really happy how we had it right there.
Anything else, you guys?
Steve?
What? Oh, yeah, I got a couple more things, too.
Songs that... I think there's a few songs that I think... as far as shouting out stuff we didn't cover, I would say, a lot of them was ones I liked. Yeah, I would say like the couple. Like, there's a couple.
Really fun one.
Yeah, I was gonna shout out to Del. Like Della's Dream is close to me as far as like a vibey summer beach tune.
Well, and some of these are like a little bit like I feel somewhat different about them because you've had these on Spotify for a bit.
Some of these, we've been
I've been listening to for like a year, so they don't. It's like, oh, it's a good song, but I'm not. It's not as new to me as some of these other ones.
Right.
So that's one
fair.
of those ones is Della Stream and to some degree Zanzibar Jam. That came out what? Was that?
Zanzibar Jam came out, that's the last one that just came out.
Oh, okay.
As far as the single was concerned, to kind of like build momentum. Ryan, you had a story about Della's?
I have a really funny story about Della's Dream. So Steve wanted this sort of surf rock tune, based on his sort of, I guess, experience, his Grecophilia, I guess you could call it. And I thought it sounded great. I liked the demo a lot. And originally it wasn't, he wanted the surf guitar thing, really Stratocaster 60s kind of sound. And he was going to maybe get one of his friends to play it. He was going to ask me to play it. And I was taking a super long time. And then I was like, okay, that's the fire under my ass I needed. So I'm going to play it. And I played it on top of his demo that he made, right? And his demo was originally piano because that's one of Steve's main instruments that he plays. So is piano instead of surf guitar, and I just played the surf guitar along with the piano. And like the demo wasn't perfect, which is like, it was just human, it wasn't like perfectly timed and everything. So I went, okay, I'll just play along to the demo, and it's really hard to play to something that's like off time, like it's not like it's got the human element to it. You got to really sync up with someone, especially when they're not in the room, and it's like it's already on record. So it's like, okay, Steve, I'm going to play this to the demo. Don't change the demo the guitar is going to that, so do everything around that, do everything around the demo. And he goes, okay. Then this fucking guy goes and makes like the perfectly synced version of the song, like to the beat and stuff. And then my guitar sounds like shit now over it. It's all out of sync. It sounds fine. It just sounds like I'm a little like wonky. I sound like I'm justifying my performance, but yeah, my guitar is a little wonky because Steve is the one who messed up first and not me. I played perfect. But no, it was just kind of funny that I was like, God damn it, Steve. You fucking made me look bad. But yeah, it was kind of funny. I got a kick out of it, actually, at the end of it all.
Yeah, I don't remember any of that. I just remember, it sounded fine to me, and we kept it.
It's fine. It's fine. It sounds good.
I will say, yeah, Zanzibar Jam was another collective favorite that we didn't cover, and it's mainly, you hear it all the time because it's now the theme song for the Lost Pete 6 show. So it's, we don't really need to demo it because you've already heard it by the time you listen to this. So, but that was a fun one. That was a quick, like, another 5-minute riff. I could, rub one out in GarageBand, and then everybody seemed to
let that go.
Everybody seemed to like it, and we just tracked it, and then I think Ryan came up with the middle section like he normally does. And a funny story about that was is that we ended up like I was pretty much wanted to be kind of done with the record, so I think, and Ryan Dr. Fun came over and said, hey, do you think we should put like some vocals, not necessarily the words, but just sort of oohs and ahs and kind of sort of psychedelic, because it was sort of the tribute was to Australian psychedelic music in general, and most of it was like Danger 5, Dario Russo, and Tame Impala, and not so much King Gizzard on that one, but the name Zanzibar Chem comes from an inside joke in the King Gizzard Gizverse. So anyway, the point was, and I was just like, I get kind of lazy sometimes in my production style, where I just go, I don't know, nah. It's a lot of effort to set up a mic and put a thing and plug it in and get the levels right and kind of keep doing takes over and over again. I really didn't want to do that, and so I'm like, nah, we're good. And then the Denim Emperor came over like the next day. I played in the track because I'm always showing people what we're doing. And he's like, this is really cool. Hey, you know what you should probably do on this, though? You should probably put some backup vocals on there. And I'm like, okay, well, someone else said that, too. Or, the doctor mentioned it. It's two opinions, like, said the exact same thing. Let's just do it. So Denim Emperor added to it. And then I had to call Ryan, I had to call the doctor and say, hey, remember that thing I mentioned about not doing vocals? Yeah, we did vocals, and you should probably do some so I don't feel like an asshole. And so yeah, that was one of those like.
You told me in the car.
Yeah.
I had a fake outburst at you to be I was like play mad at Steve. I wasn't actually angry at Steve, but yeah, I actually do like the way that the Emperor's vocals turned out. He did a great job. So, but I was like, I told you.
And this is why he's the MVP of the record.
Well, that's pretty great. All right. Well, what is next for Psychedelic Space Beef Band?
Okay, I know.
Well, we've got a lot of things. Most importantly, probably songs about pizza and maybe songs about Scoob. But I think we're thinking Pizza Chief. Get some yellow card.
This is the long hyped pizza themed covers.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. If I could find Chief now, we'd eat some pizza. I'd open up the door, saying pleased to meet ya. 1 extra large with cheese. It's time to eat now. Let your sauce rain down on me and fill me with pepperoni. Oh!
Okay, so in English, in actual American English, we got an album about pizza that we want to do, or like an EP, or some kind of record about pizza. We got a Scoob record we want to do, which you'll have to fucking listen to find out what that is. And then, hold on, there's a couple things. I've been pushing this a long time. Eric says he has something cooking, but we gotta talk about the Beef Olympics in some form.
Well, the Anime Olympics is something I've been thinking about.
Absolutely have to talk about that as well. But those are topics that we want to cover in future music, which we can definitely do. And then the other thing is that I have this proposition as a doctor, a real fake doctor. We're the Psychedelic Space Beef Band.
Oh, good point.
We have to sit down.
Yeah.
We have to do a podcast. We have to all be on psychedelics during this podcast. Every single person in the band has to sit down and do psychedelics and record themselves. I mean, maybe not every single person, but every single person in the band needs to be on psychedelics and on record. So that's something that I'm really pushing. I'm gonna really push hard about. Steve looks not excited, but it'll be okay. It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great. I also want to make a point saying, as far as creative works is concerned, I think there's a lot of stuff going down. I have a tune that I want to implement as a spin-off, like what do you call it? A DLC, if you will. Of additional tunes of towns we may have missed along the way. So I have one about Florence that I've. It's not exactly a original work. It's a cover of a very old Italian opera. And so I think I'm going to do something about that dude in Florence who makes the bistecca fiorentina, like this awesome giant, like he's as a butcher that's been there forever, and because I've been on a Renaissance kick, as everybody knows who listens to this, so it's sort of like a culmination creatively of that. I know as far as performances are concerned, they're going to be we are in the works to work with the Drfun and the Denim Emperor and get sort of a family band oriented show where we can culminate all Lost Beat 6 artists and their works to kind of present the sonic assault machine that we will be known for, and that's sort of the current culmination of the live performance. So if anybody's wondering if we're going to take this out on the road, the answer is kind of. So it's in the works for that. It's more of we're working on the collective elements to perform our stuff live.
Very cool. Well, I think that wraps her up. It's been a pleasure recording with you, gentlemen.
Terry, it's been a blast as always.
Really enjoyed it.
Good times.
A Baja Blast. Really enjoyed the album. Looking forward to hearing what comes next for you guys, and good luck in space.
Real quick, the Baja Blast on JP on 4chan. There was one guy that would spam threads being like, "Are you guys looking forward to Baja Blast Summer?" Because it was the first time that we're gonna can it. So 2014 was the first year where you could buy cans of Baja Blast in supermarkets, and that was the first year that we started to do that. 2014, yeah. Yeah, thank you, JP, and the spammer. You're probably dead now, but thank you for spamming Baja Blast.
Shit, you're right. Yeah, I'm thinking. I was just like, I feel like I drank Baja Blast in a can when I still lived kind of out in a place where I was living well before that. But that's the thing I was thinking about. I had favorite sodas that are still easy to get.
I stopped drinking soda.